what are some misconceptions that artists might have when going from one to the other?
Oh, that's tough, actually. I have an answer for comics to animation, but I'll
Go
start
for
with
it.
animation with comics first. So with animation to comics, I think it's often assumed that like the same types of composition and the same types of layout can be translated over, especially the use of negative space. The use of negative space in comics specifically
It's
um,
different.
is is different, and it's best used for things like lettering and speech bubbles. Whereas in animation, that negative space can be used for things like, adding interesting Easter eggs or hidden elements or things to kind of like where's Waldo and like lead your eye towards. Some of my favorite shots in like animations utilize negative space really well, like especially in horror. Back to that, negative space can be really good at like making you think, oh God, something's gonna pop up there.
And then
Like,
that's one of my favorite things when you lay out everything so that people think something's gonna appear here, and it doesn't. It appears somewhere else, and now they shit
oh
their
yeah,
pants.
and that's just textbook suspense right there, and it's
And
amazing.
it works in
Um,
comics and animation, but what I feel is that it's not done the same way. It's
no,
it
exactly. Yeah.
exists, but okay, so that's what you mean by your misconception that people think it would be done the same way, but I don't think in comics it would work the same. That am
Yeah,
I correct?
exactly. I hope I didn't mislead anything
No,
with
no, no,
that
no, it's
with that
perfect.
statement.
Just
Yeah.
because I'm
Okay,
taking
cool.
notes as we go.
Nice. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So, yeah. But
That's
the
a good
other
one.
but on the flip side of that, the misconception with comics to animation is that, good drawing will carry the entire process for animation going forward, which it doesn't. Like, you have to understand a lot more going into animation than just knowing how to draw.
Oh yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. There's
like,
like arcs, there's timing, there's
yeah.
like
In
emotions and stuff.
in fact, sometimes you have to unlearn certain things from an illustrator's perspective when understanding animation. The best example I can think of is the Sailor Moon original anime versus the remake. The thing about the original manga was that it's highly detailed, and you know this too. It's like it's super gorgeously drawn out and illustrated with tons of great outfits and designs and so much attention to detail in like all the Sailor Scouts designs. But all the designs are simplified down in the 90s version because they were adapting this to animation and they needed to make it easier to animate for people. So a lot of that detail and a lot of those like little elements had to go depending on what kind of project you're working on and depending on what kind of process you're working with, how much time you have on your side to do these things. Detail can either work for or against the animation sometimes. I've seen it one of two ways where either for time reasons, a lot of animation designs get simplified.
They should.
In as they should, because then the creators have a lot more freedom to work with like breaking the mold and models of the characters and like broadening like the usage of that character with the least amount of lines needed. But on the other hand, there's also the ideas of like, this is very classic with anime as well. There's a lot of times where a lot of frames are really beautifully drawn, but they're also kind of limited for a lot of shots because a lot of attention went into making the frames look as good as possible. And they don't have all the time in the world to like move the characters fluidly
Yeah.
with all the attention to detail and like the hair shines, the like all the individual bits of like flair and fashion they give the characters,
I
all
think
these
it's
little
important
things.
to note that if you have a comic that goes to animation, people should just expect the designs to get simplified because with comics, I think, and we were about to talk about like some key differences in character designs for both medium. I think in comics, the advantage is that you have less drawing to do, so you can actually make more details in them. And since in
Mhm.
animation, we are just a spectator, like we just watch and then the frame is gone. But in comics, like we said before, it's an involved process. So like the person is might stare at your paddle for like 15 minutes at this one drawing. So yeah, like put drawings like to your heart's content. Put details, I mean, to your heart's content. But
Absolutely.
for animation, it's absolutely important to simplify them. Oh my god.
I would argue that simplification benefits animation more often than not in a lot of cases, like for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
The viewer
So
and the animator.